let's do our introductions. Yeah, let's do
Oh,
it. Yes.
okay. Sure. So I'm Jennifer Perez. I am the founder of FujiCon. This is the mascot, my daughter Sena. Oh, my bad.
Okay, so my name is Sena, and I am the mascot of FujiCon. If you look at a flyer, you'll see except the one in
Yeah, this is
silver.
Yeah, this is
You,
me.
you won't see me there.
It's me.
Oh, no, you're there. It's on the logo.
And I am drawing, so very much.
Yeah, she hosts panels at FujiCon as well. Next up.
Hi, my name is Rosa, and I am a former volunteer at FujiCon, and then for a time I was an operations manager and volunteer support manager at FujiCon. So I'm just here to offer advice and tips when it comes to logistics, management, and planning for a convention.
I'm Dean, and I am a con reviewer on Instagram via Dean. And I'm not just a con reviewer, I did the maps for PuchiCon, so I'm a low-key contributor, and I'm also an advisor. So when it comes to issues with cons or whatnot, I always tell the staff, like, if there's an issue or whatnot, what can be improved. But not just that, it's also praising what's done right as well. So you can actually build on that.
All right, so let's see. 2:01. So that took a whole minute.
That won't take a whole minute. That felt like
We're
20 seconds.
No, I know.
We'll just do an epilogue.
Epilogue?
Yeah, an epilogue, like a pre-talk.
So should I do like some questions now, and if people guess, they can get a prize?
Yeah,
Anyone
sure.
like prizes out there? Who wants to win stuff? That always works. Come on in and learn what's going on.
Prizes.
Free stuff. Free stuff.
We got free stuff.
Questions too.
Yeah.
Free stuff.
You get free stuff and you learn at the same time. Hello, everyone. You're not late. Come in.
Fundamental.
You get to answer questions.
And ask questions.
There you go.
That's
Okay.
right.
All right, should we start? So
Yeah.
here is planning to run an anime con with FujiCon. And our next convention, for those watching, is October in Camelback Lodge in Poconos, and then we have one in Teaneck, New Jersey in March. So I've been running this convention since 2018. And COVID, and we made it. We did virtual panels with the help of the volunteers and staff. You know, we're still here. We're still small. We get like 1,000 to 3,000 guests depending on the convention. So my daughter, the mascot, wants to say something. Don't interrupt other people though.
Okay, so basically, when we first started, there was like 100 people like coming to our convention. It was so small.
It like doubled and tripled every time. It was amazing. So yeah, let's go on to the next slide.
I was about to say that I've gone to PuchiCon from the very beginning. It started as a hotel atrium and only 2 rooms, a panel room and a small vendor hall. And we've grown from there.
Yes, so step 1, you have to define your vision and goals. So determine what kind of anime convention you want to create. Now you can also use this if you want to do a comic convention, gaming convention, or a hybrid, or a tribid, I guess. A tribid if you'd like. Consider the size, the theme, your target audience, and your overall atmosphere. And we have one of our biggest recurring celebrities, Rennie Memora, a J-pop idol. Starring there. But yeah, it's always very important, like if you want to reach, let's say there's kids cons, if you want to reach children, if you want it geared more to older individuals or all ages family, and then also consider the demographics when you actually target ads and things like that, obviously.
So a very important thing, and this is a very simple step, but it's a very important first step, is to do your homework. So you have to visit all the cons in the area and ask the staff, and also network with staff and the higher ups, such as con chairs. I have a few friends who are con chairs also, so if there's any issues, I bring it up. And again, take notes. All right, see what works, see what doesn't work, and apply to how you're gonna plan for a con.
You're like a scientist, It's okay to fail. You learn from everything in life, so just keep on trucking. Don't give up.
And I like the idea of, I like backwards planning with the,
Microphone.
Oh yeah, so I like backwards planning of when you set a goal for yourself, because it's important to know what your goal is overall, and then from there you work backwards. And I like what Dee said about networking. That's so important because you want to know where exactly your audience is and what the location is going to be. How are they going to gravitate toward that or be receptive to it in a sense?
Yeah, and we'll get into it a little more later, but it's really good to have connections within the community, whether it be restaurants, local anime stores, boba shops, Japanese restaurants. I have a friend from Baton Ramen that I have been going to for years, and he sponsored my first event when I did cosplay events. He sponsored all the food and everything, and every convention he gives us gift cards. So I'm really lucky to have made really great friends. So it's really important because then you help them thrive and they help you thrive. So it's really good to collaborate and work with others and help each other out. So yeah, step 2, we kind of went through this a little bit, but conduct market research, research other anime conventions in your area, or similar events to understand the demand, the attendance, and popular features. This will help you identify opportunities to make your convention unique and appealing. So for me, what inspired me to start the convention was actually Castle Point Anime Convention. Has anyone been there? Heard of it? Yes. Okay.
Yes, me too.
All right, cool. Yeah, so I used to go back when it was in, what is it, Castle Point? In Stevens? No, what's it called?
Stevens Institute of
Well,
Technology.
Stevens, yes, Stevens Institute of Technology, right? And I love that campus, I'm not gonna lie. And I like the Meadowlands, but there was just something special about it. But they got so big, which is great, that they had to move. But the lines were really long, and I know they had a maid cafe and everything. So going to that con, New York Comic Con, and other cons, I kind of took what I loved and what I thought could make it a little bit more special, more friendly for kids, and make it more fun for kids, which she was mentioning before, so they don't get aggravated or tired or want to go home, and like have spaces and fun events for them too, so they can enjoy themselves also if you're going with the family. But yeah, you guys have any comments?
I want to piggyback on this one. So there's going to be other cons. So that's going to be in the area, 90% of the time. So you have to make your pitch and ask yourself, what makes my con stand out from all the other cons? You have to give them a reason why you want them to come.
And it's also great too to collaborate with other conventions. Like right now, we're doing a table swap. This con, so basically, like for many of the conventions, we did the Otaku. Also, we give them a table at our con, they give us a table at their con. So we're both helping each other out, creating visibility and networking together. So don't feel like I can't work with this person or I can't communicate with this convention in our competition. It's good to help each other out. You have something to say, Sena?
Be yourself.
Yes, always.
That's right.
Next slide. Build a team, very important. You do need help. Assemble a team of dedicated individuals who share your passion for anime and have the skills necessary to organize and manage a convention. Delegate responsibilities and create clear roles for each team member, something that Rosa knows. And that was actually the maid cafe I ran for a few years. Until I couldn't anymore with running a convention, so now Milk Pink Maid Cafe is a part of the convention. My friend runs it now. But maybe Rosa will want to dive into this with the team stuff, because the volunteer staff stuff, she handled a lot.
Yeah, so I think building a team is important because there's the saying, it takes a village, and that could apply to anything and anywhere. And it's really knowing when you have your team is knowing who can do what and what their strengths are, their weaknesses are, and rely on each other and build that, because you yourself might not have a strength in one area, but the other person might, and you find a way to organize and work together to get that done. And as the leader, it's your responsibility to make sure things are getting done. If something falls through the cracks, it's just taking ownership and saying, okay, what happened here? Why did this go wrong? Why are the team members not communicating? It's going back to yourself and finding out like, okay, maybe something happened, having that communication talk with them, setting the tone. So as the leader, as the one that founded the convention, it's setting the tone of how you want things to run for your convention and managing that in the most productive way.
Communication is so important.
Communication is
So
key.
important.
Yes.
As I say, it's key.
Yeah, just like she put here, everything here is spot on. Like, you know, making sure everyone knows what their role is, because some people, they'll come on and not understand what they're doing. They might not ask questions. So that's one thing. Communication is key. Make sure you speak up. If you don't know exactly what's going on, make sure you speak up and find out what's going on. Because, you know, even as the leader, they could let you know what your role is and your responsibilities, but you're also a person that's part of this team as well, and you want to do your part and make sure things are running smoothly.
Yeah, there's always sometimes, you know, miscommunication also. So if something's unclear or for any reason, you know, you don't feel comfortable in your role, you want to try something else. And this is for any job, right? Just, you know, make sure you communicate it with the person. And, you know, I'm sure if they are caring enough and empathetic enough, they want you happy. And if you're happy, you're doing a good job. So.
And as last point, you know, not necessarily a good thing, but sometimes we have to take the tough call as a leader and let people go, because it just isn't the right moment for them, maybe, or maybe it ain't the right team for them. But it's acknowledging that, you know, you are building a brand and you are building an organization and you have standards as the leader. You want to make sure that everyone on the team is on the same page with that. They might be a good worker, but, you know, if they're not doing what they need to do with their responsibilities and roles, then, you know, it's having that heart-to-heart conversation with them and making sure things are running smoothly, because that could just be one little small thing and it could just ripple effect into like a whole bunch of things down the line, as you know.
Yeah, for sure. Because if one person doesn't do, it's like a domino effect. Their thing, it affects the other person, the other person, the other person, and it'll affect all the congoers. You know, we want them to have a good, happy time.
Yeah. So one advice I would give, and I actually got this from a friend, is before going prime time, so to speak, in doing a convention, hold smaller events. And it doesn't have to have all the amenities of a convention. It could, one example, I think it was a Genshin Impact Cafe a friend of mine did. So you can start with that. It's not a convention, but it can be an event where you can have multiple people staff that event. And you can see where things can be improved and where things went right, so you can do your own post game, so you can actually mitigate or reduce the amount of issues when you do run a convention.
Yeah, that's a great tip. I started doing cosplay events first, like after con parties and things like that, and I made a lot of friends within, you know, the circuit, as far as photographers, videographers, artists, an opera singer, mermaid, Nicole Oliva, if you're watching. A lot of really beautiful, unique, and talented people, which I then started hiring and working with for the con. So you never know when you meet someone what could happen and what could grow from that.
And don't give up. You got to start somewhere if you're really passionate about running a con. And if there are losses and there's setbacks, don't think of it as an L as in loss. Think about L as in lesson. Whether you have something successful or not, that's things you can learn from and do better for next time.
All right, want to say something?
Okay. I know this doesn't have to do with anything, but I'm trying so hard not to sneeze right now.
All right.
All right, just
It's good to also be honest and transparent. Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly
another
right.
lesson. I get a lot of my inspiration from my daughter too. She kind of, you know, fills me with like, you know, that innocence and child heart passion, and a lot of the ideas I actually get from her, the themes, everything. So I'm very lucky. Okay, should we do the next one? Okay, step 4, develop a budget. Create a detailed budget that outlines your expected expenses and potential sources of revenue. Consider costs such as venue rental, this is going to be one of the highest ones, along with the guests, guest appearance, marketing, security, staff, equipment, and permits. Yeah, so this is just like an outline. There's a lot that goes to it. You know, it depends if you're going to actually get hotel rooms for the volunteers. That's something that you have to budget as well as catering for the volunteers, and if you're doing giveaways. You know, I do have sponsors as well that provide things, but you definitely have to lay it out and make sure you have, you know, a good understanding of how much you're willing to spend and can spend.
So I wanted to add that you have to know how much money you have first. And you also have to, when you do these costs, or it has to be manageable in this case, because everything's expensive now, and you have to take that into account. So it's not just creating detailed budget. You have to know where the money's coming from. It doesn't come from the sky. It doesn't grow on trees. They have to come from somewhere. So I've heard one person did a GoFundMe or an Indiegogo or whatnot for whatever it is. That could be one example. You can also use your own bank account or whatnot, or you can have staff who could just pitch in. But that's just, again, those are just some of the different ways.
Yeah, there's a lot of funding opportunities too. If you search online, I literally looked up ways to fundraise in my area, and Krispy Kreme is a really great way. They give you 50% of the profits. There's a lot of restaurants too that we did a small fundraising event, Alice's Teacup, and they give us a percentage of the profits as well. And then you also have to consider, I'm not sure if it goes into it a little later, if you want to be a nonprofit, LLC, I'm forgetting another one. What am I forgetting? Nonprofit,
It's nonprofit.
LLC, there's another one. Oh, you could be an S corp as well. For the I think they're Otacon is, or well, one of the cons is an S corp. But you have to see what makes most sense for you. Like nonprofit, you're gonna have a board, especially if you're in this area. Members, you have to make sure that you guys are all on the same page, have the same vision. You all have to vote on things. And then you have to pull in money from different resources that way. For LLC, and you get more tax breaks, but LLC you'll have more control if you want more of your vision to go throughout, and things like that. So you gotta look it up and weigh the cons and the benefits of the cons, right? To see what's the best scenario. Oh, and if you guys, should we have questions at the end, or if you have questions?
I'll have it at the end,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, so if you take notes. Okay, securing a venue. So you have to find a suitable venue that can accommodate your expected attendance and that has necessary facilities such as event spaces, restrooms, and parking. And you have to negotiate the rental terms and sign a contract with the venue. And this is really important, and I want to make sure you guys make sure every little thing is on the contract. Every single thing that is discussed. A firm handshake is not gonna, go through at the end of the day. A lot of times things get forgotten or miscommunicated. But yeah, that's very important. And then as far as venues, that was actually one of the most time-consuming things. I always recommend that you bring your team with you, someone who knows logistics, that knows about security or tech with you. It's very important to make sure it does work for you space-wise, budget-wise, and don't go for your first venue. Like shop around, maybe look at venues that you've been to, like conventions that you were interested in, and just contact them. I literally started this convention just Googling, venues and sponsors and looking at what other conventions were doing. So, and I started researching and learning that way. So, you guys have any?
I was about to say, pick a venue that's not in the middle of nowhere.
Oh yeah, good transportation.
Good transportation. Now, we're from the New York City area, so most of us don't drive. So don't pick a venue that only requires driving. So pick a venue that's easily accessible via public transit, whether it's a bus or train or whatnot. And in addition to that, it doesn't have to be a convention center or a hotel to be your convention. There is one convention that I went to that's in a botanical gardens. There is one convention that is in the Bronx that's going to be in a church. You can hold one in the park. Of course, you have to have your permits. So again, that goes into the research. But don't limit yourself. Do your research, shop around, and that's where also the networking comes in. So if they know any other venues, for example, use that. You have a question? Oh, you can use the mic over there. Oh, sorry.
And Sena, you had something you wanted to say really quick?
So I feel like having conventions in a hotel is better because more people would want to come because it's easier because you can just go to the hotel and then the next day go to the convention or just walk.
It's definitely a convenience, especially if you're running a con. I like doing conventions and resorts like the Camelback Lodge one I have in October, which is in the water park. It's a lot of fun. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, I couldn't last time.
And you don't have to go somewhere else and purchase a hotel, and it'll be harder to just find a place that's close enough to the convention so you can stay there and come back to the con and stay there.
Yeah, and then you get a special hotel booking rate and all that within it, and maybe a free water park pass, so it depends.
Sena brought up a great point, but I want to build on top of that. See if you can try to have the hotel give discounts for attendees.
Yes.
Those are the hotel blocks.
Yeah, they're willing to offer because, they want people to go to their hotel or their resort and, always find ways they can negotiate with them.
That's a win-win for the con and the venue.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to see if they can, you're giving them thousands upon thousands of dollars. If they want to give a discount to restaurants, or if they want to sponsor, let's say I've asked Camelback to sponsor arcade cards, or Showboat as well, sponsored items, or did giveaways, things like that. So definitely see if they can give back as well. To kind of, it'll help them as well because you don't want people, ordering Uber Eats or Grubhub instead of eating at your convention or your hotel. So I think they realize after that, oh, we should lower prices. We'll get more people to eat here. Yeah.
Right.
So a lot of the hotel venues are doing concessions now for us as well, like a hot dog, regular price burgers, things like that, because we've talked to them. Okay, so step 6, plan the convention schedule. This is really important. Create a schedule that includes panel discussions, workshops, screenings, cosplay contests, gaming tournaments, a guest appearance, and other activities. Consider the interests and preferences of your target audience. And that's Pan the manager from the Pink Bay Cafe. She's an amazing panelist and guest. But yeah, also very important, make sure that when you do the panel, it doesn't conflict with another panel that might be going on in the same theme. That's also very important. And again, along with the budget, make sure you have a budget set for guests, like who you really, research the guests. Look what's popular on Netflix. A lot of anime comes back, like Death Note became really popular again. So try to get guests and panelists and performers that are very interested, or people are very interested in them. Check their following. A lot of times people are going to reach out to you too, like agents and such. So if you want to, let's say, get J. Michael Tatum, look up J. Michael Tatum agent, and usually you can find their email and contact them. Or for some reason, I have a harder time getting YouTubers or VTubers. I don't know why. But for some reason, it's easier to get agents, but good luck.
That's definitely true. I would say one thing that I do like that PucciCon does that I don't know if other conventions do this is they ask their fan base, they ask the fandoms that they have, like, hey, what kind of panels do you want to see, or what kind of games do you want to see there, or which guests do you want to see? So it kind of gives people who go to the convention ownership in a sense for themselves as well. Like, hey, we kind of created this in a sense because we voiced our opinions of like who we want to see, what kind of workshops we want to see, etc. And I think that's an amazing thing that PucciCon does, that they kind of let you as the attendees decide some of the stuff. Of course, it's not always going to happen because everyone has conflicts and schedules, but make it possible to make it work.
If not that convention, maybe the following convention we could have the guests, because they're flying all over the place too, so it's hard sometimes to move them. But yeah, definitely we do votes on Discord, or I'll do an Instagram story vote to get people to vote on what they like or what they're looking for the most in the con, or if they have a celebrity or a musician they want, and see what else everyone's feeling at the moment.
Research. Look at other cons for in the past few months, what they've been doing. And that will give you a sense of what you can put into the programming. And also leave some space in between panels, because for each time a panel is going to start, there's setup time that we need. Luckily for us, it took us a few minutes, but some people may have more complex things that they want to put in the panel, so they may need a little bit more time. So have a little bit of wiggle room, so you can also allow people to get in and get out and so on to make sure everything runs smoothly for all the panels.
Especially if you have a band, that takes a bit more setup. Something with a lot of text, so definitely. Yes.
Sharing,
Okay. Do you want to
convention
say something
secrets.
about the panel? Because you host panels. You want any feedback?
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I do.
So, if you want to host a panel, so you have to be very good at what you're going to make your panel about. Just be good. Just be good at it. If you want to have a successful panel with like medium people, you have to make your panel like everyone would want to see it. It has to be an interesting topic. If you want to have more people see your panels.
Good point, Sena.
Okay. Do you want to do the next one? Or do you want
Okay, I can do it. Inviting guests and vendors. So just like it says, reach out to anime industry professionals, voice actors, artists, cosplayers, and vendors who might be interested in participating in your convention. Provide them with details about your event, including the dates, locations, any compensations or perks you could offer. This is very important because when you're scouting or looking for celebrity guests or performers or those who or even in the local area that want to perform or they want to band, you want to make sure that you have everything outlined, especially from the application process, from the screenings of you're screening the people, also from the dates of outlining, like this is when the application closes, this is when we will call you back. And I think the important thing with voice actors, especially in professionals, is they work with agencies, and these agents work with many people, and they'll get celebrity guests. It's always going everywhere. So I could say, if you have someone like Johnny Young Bosch, like how many conventions would you say he does a year, right? Like
Too many.
Yeah. So you want to make sure everything is outlined, and so your convention could get picked. To have all your ducks in a row. The contract is clear, it's concise, it's very simple to understand for yourself, for the agency, and for the professional as well.
It's the same goes when you're reaching with attendees. You have to make a pitch also, because they have a lot of decisions to make on which cons to go to. So you're competing with other cons in getting those voice actors or these celebrities. So you have to really make that pitch and to persuade them to come.
So, if you're going to get voice actors, you need to get the really, really popular ones. Because if you get ones that are not that popular, not that many people are going to come to your convention. Because if you have someone like really popular, a lot of people are going to be like, oh my gosh, we should go see them.
That's how I feel in terms of you just showed us outside.
Oh, and I was going to mention vendors because that hasn't been brought up in this conversation. I would say definitely go to other conventions too, and like right now I'm speaking to vendors and networking and letting them know about my con, like after I buy like a rent figure or something from them. We're fairly lucky, or it's interesting, we get a lot of artists like in the artist alley.
Yeah.
So they're constantly applying. So I always try to get, we have merch as well. So I try to go a lot to the merch vendors here as well and introduce myself. So definitely network, go to other cons, other events, and you might even meet a cosplayer if you want to feature cosplay or something like that. You have something to say? Oh, you're saying.
No, I'm good. I'm just saying hi.
You have something to say?
Oh, that's good.
Seven? Next one?
I have something that doesn't. Wait. Okay. So, by the way,
Where do you want to go?
okay, so, just saying.
You want to come back? Yeah.
Okay, so at our next convention, I'm going to have my own table.
Yeah, she's an artist herself, so she does commissions and jobs and such. We haven't been really doing it this time around, but next one.
And come by and say
Please, Dad.
You want to read the next one, Zane? You want to give her a
All right, so step, go ahead, yeah. Step 8, so promote your convention, big one. That's where all networking comes it's very important to network. So develop a marketing strategy to raise awareness and attract attendees. So you have to use social media, website advertising, online forums, local media outlets, and collaborations. Basically use all the tools available with related communities or organizations to design eye-catching promotional materials. So very, very, very important. So you keep posting on social media and also share with other influencers, share with your friends. So the more people you share with, those other people who are interested will share with other people, and it multiplies.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm an examiner, so I believe in old school marketing and new school, I guess, marketing. So, definitely get flyers made, go to local anime shops, comic shops, like I said, even restaurants, boba shops, whatever you think your target audience will go to, definitely work with them. And even you can have them as a sponsor. I have them as sponsors if they even let me leave flyers or have their, have the poster like in front of the place. Also, other conventions, as I mentioned, doing convention swaps is a great way to market yourself. Fiverr is a great tool if you can't find a local artist. If you're trying to be budget savvy, that was made on Fiverr. That's Sena as a mermaid. And that's been a very popular item and t-shirt, that art. But yeah, and there's a lot of organic ways. You can go on websites like animecons.com or convention scene. Look for whatever state it is, do New Jersey events, and a lot of websites let you post events for free as well. And like family, community events in New Jersey and things like that. But yeah, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, everything. There's the Discord, definitely YouTube. Definitely try to get out there, do promotions, have like contests where people share their stories and tag their friends, Really try to get people, to join and share.
Go to other cons, basically. Have your own table.
Yeah,
so apply as much as you can. But of course, you got to deal with your own budget as well because they're not free. So getting a table is not free, so you have to do that.
Sena, read the next step. Go ahead, Sena.
Step 9. Establish policies and rules. Define clear policies for attendees, vendors, guests, and staff. Cover topics such as conduct, cosplay guidelines, weapons policies, ticketing, refunds, and photography permissions. Communicate these policies through your website and signage at the convention.
You want to take this, Rosa? This is your department.
There was a time, and still a time. So just like with everywhere you go, every place you go, there's got to be rules you need to follow, policies you need to follow, so things can run smoothly. Else we'll have a chaotic world or chaotic mess, and everyone's just going vigilante at the convention. So we don't want that. We want to have a good time. So I think it all starts with the higher ups setting clear policies for everyone, not just for things to run smoothly, but everyone to have a great time. And also there's rules where you go to the venue, like certain venue locations, you can't do certain things or not allowed to do certain things. So you want to make sure everyone who attends, not just the attendees, is also the vendors and the staff as well, that they're able to understand that there are certain rules that needs to be followed. And even the celebrity guests, because celebrity guests, just because they're guests doesn't mean that they can just do whatever they want. There's still rules that they need to follow as well, such as, for example, one that we, when I was working at FujiCon that we really followed strictly was no staff in the guest rooms, so no way, no chance, like, if a guest wants someone there, they could have their, helper, or they could just wait till they meet them outside. But it's a very important rule to follow because you want to make sure everyone is safe, especially your staff. Everyone is, being looked after for these policies. And, of course, you're going to have with the other policies here is weapons policies. Like I'm sure you all came through the door. I'm sure you understand why those are in place. Ticketing refund is also important because you want to make sure that people know like what works as a refund, what can they not get a refund for, when they can pick up things, and so many of this stuff, I guess we could speak on doing conventions and events. We could put this in many ways and formats, and something will slip through the cracks. Like they might say, "Oh, I didn't read that on the website, but it was on social media." Or like, "Oh, I didn't read it on social media, but we made a video about it." "Oh, but I didn't watch the video, but we sent you when you walked through the door, you got a packet with the information." So any way, shape, or form, I'm just saying cover your bases, cover everything just to protect yourself, because remember, you are a brand and you don't want to be liable for any issues that might come down the line.
I agree with Rosa. Rosa has made a great point. So you have to make sure that everything is emphasized, but in addition to that, do your homework as well. Check with other cons, and also each venue may have different rules. It could be rules and regulations, whether it's going to be from the state, the city, local governments, maybe the venue itself. It could differ. So just because you did one venue doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the same for all the others. You have to do your research. I can't emphasize enough how important it is to do your research, because if you miss anything, that's on you, and your credibility is going to be affected. So make sure you, as Rosa said, cover all the bases. And I want to add one more thing. Have an emergency plan. God forbid something happens. I think one example, I think it was another con, there was some kind of a fire alarm or something. So we want to make sure, God forbid, if there is an emergency, that everyone leaves the venue in a safe manner and no one gets hurt.
Right, this is called a risk assessment plan. So when you're planning a convention, it's one of the things that you do toward the end of the convention, because not only do you have to set a risk assessment plan for yourself, as a convention leader, you got to set one for the team, so the team is aware of what they need to do when such a risk happens. And also you want to make sure you abide by the policies and rules of the venue as well. But the good thing with most venues is they have their own policies. So if there's a fire alarm issue, or most hotels, let's say for example, they have a fire alarm policy. Or if someone gets sick on the convention floor, they do have ambulance, first aid stations that you can go to. So always, go find out what the venue has first, and then you work from there on how you could add it to your convention. And it always changes each year. So you might use some things similar, you might use some things different depending on location and what's happening in the state of the world.
Yeah, and each venue is going to give you different challenges and obstacles that you might not have experienced at another venue, or if there's, a pandemic happening. That was a huge curveball, I think, for everybody, right? All the sanitation that had to take place, the temperature checks, the masks, social distancing. There was rooms that we could, barely have anyone in because, or do much in because of all the space, or even the vendor hall, we had to have less vendors. So, I definitely think that's of importance to make sure you research what's going on in the world and as far as safety. And then one thing I recommend, because some people don't read certain outlets, I've been printing a lot of things more so on the actual convention, so people could actually see the map and the layout, the schedule. Just try to have as much information you have as people go through the door in the different areas, so they know what's going on, just to cover yourself. I know someone mentioned ask if people want to be texted, so just whatever method you can, get that information to people, because it's very important. You wanted to say something?
Okay, I wanted to say something. So, in conventions, you need to make sure that you have a room for staff where they can
where they can meet.
So they can relax and congregate and plan.
And also, you need to make sure they get to eat something.
Yes.
That's very important.
Yes.
Ask them if they're going to eat anything. If they're not, just give them food.
Just leave it in the house.
Just leave it in the room.
I mean, this
Shove it
This
in.
is your need too, because Dean mentioned. There's a large focus on mental health, physical health, anti-bullying, kindness, and everything. I myself forget to eat sometimes because I get so immersed in something. There's also hyper-focus. It's called hyper-focusing. So yeah, make sure that your staff are taking breaks. You should have someone making sure that everyone is where they're supposed to be, doing what they're supposed to be doing, that they're eating, taking care of themselves, resting. It's very important to take care of yourself, whether you're a congoer, running a con, a volunteer, what have you. Definitely make sure your health is in check.
You got to have your central command center for for all the staff.
All right, so
Step 10. Set up registration and ticketing. Use a ticketing platform to handle registration and ticket sales. Ensure a smooth and secure process for attendees to purchase tickets and provide any necessary information.
Want me to go? Or you want to go?
So just to briefly talk on this, it's very important to make sure everyone knows where they have to go to register, whether it's early check-in online or through mobile app, or when it's early pre-pickup in person as well. Because of course, like conventions such as New York Comic Con, if everyone's going to check in, go in person and pick up badges at the same day, you know how it could get very chaotic. Some of you've been to New York Comic Con before, so that's why they have like early pickups as early as 3-4 days in advance, about, give or take. And it's important to know that everything goes smoothly and securely, because it's not just making sure everyone gets their tickets, it's also making sure that we have the staff there, because we got to make sure the staff is doing what they need to do, and we have the correct amount of staff, so we're not understaffed as well when we have to set up registration and ticketing.
Oh yeah, make sure you know the venue's capacity limits.
Yeah.
Very, very, very important, because no venue has infinite space.
Yes.
So at some point, you can't have too many people, or else it'll create a fire hazard. So there's only so many tickets you can sell. So make sure you set that limit.
Yeah, and I'm not sure because my daughter was talking. If Rosa meant, did you mention the ticketing sites at all?
Like event.
Yeah.
Yeah, we mentioned you just go online. Like some other ticketing sites that you can use is Wix, right?
Yeah, Wix is like a double-edged sword, because it could be a little pricey, but there's a lot you can do within the system. You could have the tickets with the website as well. So and then I also, with Wix, you can have an app dedicated to the convention within Wix. So your own little space, it's called. So that's like another thing. And then you could ping people, if there's a sale, or if there's some important information, or a voice actor that's just been announced through Wix. So it's pretty convenient in that sense.
Those are third-party ticketing sales sites. You also, if you want, you can create a website, you could use your website as well, if they have like a ticketing service on your website. Of course, every online service that you use, there is fees, so you have to make sure you account for that when you do set up your pricing.
Yeah, so some of the sites is like Eventbrite, as she said, Tixer, I see ShowClicks. There's so many kinds. And you also have to keep the receipts too. Always keep track of every single cent. God forbid the IRS finds you. Just for taxing purposes. Want to play it safe.
Okay, I can read this one. Organize logistics, step 11. So arrange for necessary equipment such as audio-visual systems, seating, signage, crowd control measures, coordinate with vendors, food providers, and any other service providers needed for the event. So this is a very big one, and one that should be done way before the day of and during the event. You want to make sure everything is in place at the venue, that the venue is aware of what you need and when you need it, and the tech team, both on your end and also the tech team at the location, are coordinated together to make sure things are running smoothly, because there might be some performances or panels that you're having, that you're gonna need a more elaborate setup, like Jen said before, like band performances, or they might have equipment that, okay, we need to set this up a special kind of way. So we have to work more closely to, like if you need a stage, like some locations, like hotels specifically, they don't have a stage. So, but they could find a way to set up like a mini version of that stage, but you want to let them know well in advance so they have that set up for you. And when it comes to vendors and food providers, you want to make sure that the food providers and the vendors following, of course, state by state rules. So wherever state you're in, they're following food vendor licensing, any kind of vendor, things that they can't allow to have at certain locations, because some locations will allow for vaping selling or CBD selling, and some locations won't allow for that. So it's making sure you know what your venue and of course, what your state allows as well. Because you don't want somebody who's a vendor that you approve them and then they're coming from who knows across the country, then they find out that oh wait, they can't sell such and such items in this state. So that just it was just miscommunication that fell through the cracks there. And I think Dean did really talk good when it comes to signage and crowd control.
That's right. All right, you got to plan your maps. You got to get your maps. There's actually one con where the maps didn't even come out yet, and the con's going to be held in mid-June. I'm not going to say which one it is, but you got to plan this ahead. So get the floor plans, get everything, put adequate propose different ways where you can put adequate signage. Obviously, you would put it in high traffic areas or areas where they're going to intersect in terms of the hallways. So again, adequate signage is very important. Also, in this case, when it comes to logistics, delegate, especially with staff. I think on the first couple of PucciCons, you were basically almost a one-person show.
Oh, for sure.
Remember that? You did everything.
It was small enough that it wasn't as crazy. Now I would just jump out a window. A
No.
very small window.
There's only so much one person can do. And if you overburden yourself, you're gonna make a mistake, you're gonna burn out. So it's very important that you delegate to the other staff very clearly. And also, don't just say it. Don't never have it verbal. Always document. My ex-boss actually told me this. If it's never documented, it does not exist. So document, paper, electronic, save it. Make sure everyone's informed. And again, communication, I cannot emphasize this enough. Do not assume, always ask. Communication, again, is very important. Now in this venue, we're having issues with cell service. So you can't just rely on Facebook Messenger, Instagram DMs. Also have phone numbers as well. All right, and you may have to find places like going outside in order to get cell service. But that's beside the point. But again, communication is very important. Delegation is very important.
And I think that's a good point to bring up too, because I'm hearing about this more frequently when it comes to conventions in certain venues, state by state basis, is when it comes to arranging for logistics. As though if your venue, especially if you want to do let's say if you want to do a larger event, because with a smaller event, you don't have to worry about that because just you and the manager, or you and the small establishment. With bigger conventions such as this, or I would say in your city, just for preferences, Jacob Javits, is it a union venue? So some of these places have unionized, staff, and you want to make sure that okay, what are some things that are allowed, not allowed, because you don't want to, make a mistake in that. And then, like I said, you have people coming from other places, and you waste time and money, of course, which is important.
Yeah, now, ever since I did Atlantic City, I learned very well about unions, and it's definitely a cost that you wouldn't expect. So it's definitely ask if there is if they need unions, because you might need unions for vending tables, you might need unions to watch your tech people do stuff, a union person to watch your security team do things. So it adds up, and it's an unexpected expense, especially if you do it in a casino or something like that. But I'm trying to think, I feel like I wanted to mention something about security and such, but I think we pretty much laid it all out. But yeah, definitely have everything on paper, make sure you check out the venue so you can have all the maps and all the areas that you want to have the security professionals at, the volunteers, all ahead of time, so you know that you have enough staff to man everything. It's very important.
So just to reiterate for step 12, so ensure safety and security. Very important to implement measures to ensure the safety and well-being of everyone, attendees, staff, guests. And it's not just your own staff, it's also everybody else as well. And it's very important to coordinate with the venue staff. And that's also, if, for some cons, they have their own security staff as well. So this includes, as I said, with hiring security personnel, so emergency procedures, so have in touch with the EMS in the area, for example, and conducting risk assessments for potential hazards. So in this case, you'd have to ask other cons as well. So I can't emphasize enough, you're gonna get tired of hearing me say this, network, research.
I highly recommend critical protection in Ohio. They drive 9 hours to us, but they're amazing. They even step in if a volunteer cannot make their area, and they'll sit there, check badges.
Yes, and I think this comes from the good relationship, business relationship that PucciCon established with that security team. So it's not just okay, here's the business, here's it done. It's coming with friendly, of course, friendly banter with one another, and realizing that, like I said again, it takes a village, you help one another. All right, so step 13, on-site management. So assign responsibilities for each aspect of the convention, such as registration, programming, vendor management, customer service. Have a communication plan in place to address any issues or emergencies that may arise. So we spoke about a couple of these points throughout the presentation. So it's important that especially a higher up staff, the ones who are doing more the pre-planning phase, that they know what their roles are and responsibilities are, not only before the convention in the early planning phases, but also during the convention as well. Because roles do change from the planning phase to also when you're at the event as well. So making sure that each person, one person can't do everything, especially if it's a large event, and even if you can, eventually that's just gonna burn you out after a while.
You might make mistakes and things like that.
We want to make sure we take care of our mental health first and foremost. So having people you could trust and rely on, and also that could communicate effectively with you, is important to make sure all these roles are in place, whatever roles you might need for your convention. Sometimes if it's a smaller event, because not just conventions, but it could be a smaller little after party or something, you can have one person do two things if it's pretty small. And the last sentence is very important. Have a communication plan. It looks different for everybody, whether it's meeting monthly or, we like to do bi-weekly. It's always good, meeting bi-weekly, and it could be through virtual call. That I think COVID showed us that remote is everything now. You don't have to go to a physical location to meet up. You can just meet online remotely. So finding out what that communication plan is for you and who needs to know what, because sometimes not everyone needs to know everything. So knowing okay, this person just needs to know what time the convention starts, let's say. And then you might have a higher up person that needs to, you have to set up the timing of everything and make sure that it goes accordingly, and even afterwards. So have that communication plan through and through, and make sure you not only follow up with it, but you get feedback from it. Because again, if the team, when you set up a communication plan, the team is not, adapting to it, you have to ask yourself why and figure out, okay, let's find a different communication plan that could address these issues, and we'll work from there.
I highly recommend using Asana for project management. Some people, you have to ask your staff, some people might be more comfortable using Facebook groups, Discord. There's many ways, to communicate with your staff to make sure, you're all on the same page and everything.
I have 2 points. So first thing, don't just have a plan A and plan B. Have a plan C, plan D, plan E, etc. You want to have, exactly. You want to have a lot of wiggle room so things go smoothly. And the second point I wanted to discuss is, in addition to delegation, we need to have people as fluid as possible, because God forbid if some people can't make it or some people have to leave. These things are going to happen. So it's better to have maybe even more staff, but when you feel understaffed, make sure that they're able to do other things in case staff can't make it or staff had to leave early, for example.
You want to do it, Sena? Okay, you can do it.
Step 14. Step 14. Provide a positive attendee experience. Pay attention to the details that will enhance the overall experience for attendees. This includes clear signage, comfortable seating areas, accessible facilities, engaging activities, and
Efficient.
efficient flow of traffic.
Yeah, it's like I mentioned, Staples or FedEx is great for printing signage. Put the schedule outside every door. Like I said, I recommend, which the next time I'm going to try to do, have the map as soon as people walk in through the door so they know where they're going, and the schedule. Definitely make sure there's, if you can, have a quiet area so people could relax. Have also, accessible facilities, make sure there's restrooms and, people are hydrated if possible. And just sometimes it gets really hot, especially when, people are in class, we make sure that it's a comfortable temperature. And, just try to, with each con, improve and see, what can I do better at this con to make, and ask, do a feedback survey. I think that's going to be the next one.
Yeah. Security. Safety first also. So, you can have all these things like a quiet space, etc., but also provide a security as well. Make sure that they feel safe in attending the con as well. Yes, question?
Also about mobility for people with mobility issues, like scooter rentals and wheelchairs, and also stations for nursing and rescue.
Correct.
And also accessible wheelchairs for restrooms.
Yeah, accessibility is extremely important as well.
So it's for those who haven't heard, so it's make sure it's accessible for those who it's wheelchair accessible, and also have places where in case if they need to nurse or whatnot.
So to make this quick, because I don't want to take up the next person, make sure that you do a feedback survey. And this is for the staff, the attendees, the vendors, the guests, the volunteers. To make sure that everyone, had a good time. If they had a feedback, you want people to feel safe, happy, and want to come back, right? So make sure you get to hear what they have to say, and don't take it too personally.
And FujiCon, I would say, is good at that from what I've seen and been part of as well. Is take the feedback, and to a point of okay, what can we do to be better the next time? And that's just for everybody on a visual level. What can you do better next time? But if you could take that on a whole bigger perspective, it makes things run more smoothly.
I'll do it. Okay, so in conclusion, remember that organizing an anime convention or any event, so to speak, can be a complex endeavor. So it's essential to start planning well in advance and seek advice and network from experienced organizers or professionals in the event industry. And I wish all of you best of luck if you do want to create an event.
And the last one. So definitely, thank you so much for coming. We have a QR code there that leads to our link tree. If you follow us, and we have Discord, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, you can enter to win passes to our next conventions. And if you can name when the next convention is, or say, I'll give you a free shirt or hoodie. Anyone know? October? Who said that? Okay, come on. I want to good job. And I want to make sure, I know it's not time for people to ask questions, but please reach out to us. I'm the one who handles all social media. I've been doing marketing, and I'm also an educator too in the past. For 15 years for Samsung and other places, so definitely come ask me questions. I love helping others grow, so definitely do that. Ask a question, quick.
Sure.
So, okay. What is the anime that has to do with catching animals?
Catching animals?
You.
Yes, good job. Come on. What is the name of our mascot? Anybody know?
Starts with an S.
Got 2 minutes. No? Okay, that's fine. That's Sena. You guys have a question, real quick?
You got a question?
No,
I have another question.
yeah. I'll
Go ahead.
Sorry, next time. We only have 1 minute.
Who am I cosplaying as?
Oh, yes.
Over there.
It starts with a C.
Headband, so.
Yes.
Cinema roll.
Yes.
Yes.
Let's see.
Give us nice
Oh, since we're packing up, everyone, you can come.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. Please follow the QR code or just go to puchicon.com for more information.
Perfect.
And thank you, appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you
go
for
grab a
joining.
flyer. We have free buttons. We have free stickers. So come help yourself. And we hope to see you later at the booth. We have more things going on. We have a pool party in Teenage New Jersey.
It's the community area upstairs. What's your booth number? 00.
It's community. I can't remember.
Yeah, so community
It's
booth
there,
area.
near the anime area. And enjoy the rest of your con.